Guys, Disney just invested $1 billion into OpenAI, the company behind ChatGPT. This deal is absolutely huge. It grants OpenAI access to over 200 Disney, Pixar, Marvel, and Star Wars characters. If you're going into Sora, if you're going to ChatGPT, you are going to be able to generate images of these timeless characters. And this is, I don't think you fully understand how huge this is for the entertainment industry, this 3-year deal. It is absolutely massive. But look, don't just take my word for it. Listen to what the CEO, Bob Iger, says. He says, through this collaboration with OpenAI, we will thoughtfully and responsibly extend the reach of our storytelling through generative AI while respecting and protecting creators and their works. Now, there are some limitations, like excluding actor likenesses. We'll get to that in just a moment. Today, what we're going to do is we're going to cover the key details of the deal, the implications to the market, and how it's going to impact you in the future of entertainment. Because, guys, I don't think you fully understand what's happened. And listen, if you're new here, definitely hit like, subscribe to the channel. 6 days a week, I'm bringing you the freshest AI news and how it's going to impact your world and your ability to generate income. Because please believe the world is changing. The world is changing. So listen, let's get into the details of the deal. So Disney invested $1 billion into OpenAI at a $500 billion valuation, which, by the way, is insane. Just a couple of weeks ago, I'll post a link to the video here. Just a couple of weeks ago, I covered how Gemini VO3 is basically going to kill OpenAI. And now OpenAI turns around and they signed this like insanely massive deal with Disney. Props to Sam Altman. That guy, you know, he's a little sleazy if you ask me, but man, that guy can close deals. That guy knows how to work. Because this, guys, is a huge, huge win for OpenAI. Again, you want to create an AI content with Darth Vader, you're going to need ChatGPT. You're going to need Sora. And by the way, just a month ago in November, Bob Iger, CEO, said that AI would allow the company to provide Disney Plus users with tools to create and consume user-generated content, mainly in short form. This, guys, is big. This is big. He goes on and says, there's a selection of videos by users that will be made available for streaming on Disney Plus, allowing the streaming platform to capitalize on the growing appeal for short-form content. Guys, this is really huge. The way that you experience entertainment on platforms like Disney, like Netflix, we'll get to that in just a moment as well, is going to be completely changed. You're going to have this marketplace where all sorts of people, millions of people, tens of millions, hundreds of millions of people from all over the world are creating tons and tons of content. And guess what's going to happen? The best content is going to rise to the top. And while this might start with short form content, please believe within the next 2 years, here's a hot prediction. Within the next 2 years, there are going to be 30-minute AI-generated programs from people just like you and me on these platforms. How will the compensation work and the AdSense work? Well, we'll find out. My guess is it'll be probably similar to what we have on YouTube, where if you can get a certain amount of views, a certain amount of watch time, you're going to recoup a certain amount of revenue. Regardless, this kind of blows my mind what is happening right before our eyes. The future of entertainment is happening right before our eyes. It completely changes how Hollywood will make content. And that, my friends, is a big deal. Creative jobs are going to feel a massive sting. If you're a professional creator, you're in big freaking trouble. You're in big trouble because the world is about to change right before your eyes. This reminds me, and I covered this, again, I'll post a link to a video here. I covered in pretty decent detail what was happening with SAG-AFTRA, which is essentially a writers guild out of Hollywood. And they were very upset, this was a year ago, that their jobs were going to be taken by AI programs. Well, guess what? It's happening. Those jobs are definitely being replaced. And it's interesting what some of these guild leaders have said. Listen to this quote. This is nuts. Disney's announcement with OpenAI appears to sanction its theft of our work and cedes the value of what we create to a tech company that has built its business off of our backs, is what the WGA leaders said to their members. Whoo, those are fighting words right there. They're saying, oh, you want to cut us out of the creative process, well, you got another thing coming and we'll see you in court. But guess what? They ain't gonna win. This is, and guys, this is kind of a common theme that we cover on the channel. The world is changing, guys, and I feel like a lot of people are fighting this AI wave, but AI is going to happen, and you can either adapt or die, is the way that I see it. You're not gonna be able to boycott your way out of AI. You're just not. Every company's gonna be using it. Every company is using it, and if they're not using it, they're gonna be gone in the next couple years. Everything and everyone must evolve, and I don't necessarily think that that's a bad thing. I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing. I realize that there are going to be some problems, some real problems, but I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing that AI is going to come in and shake things up and bring on a lot of new opportunities. Now, back to this idea about these creative jobs feeling the sting and IP and likenesses. Well, one of the limitations of this deal is that personal likenesses from, say, actors, you won't be able to generate. So, for example, you won't be able to generate Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man. You'll be able to generate images and video of Iron Man, but it won't be with Robert Downey Jr. It could be, it'll be different. And it'll depend on the prompts and the way that the user generates it. And again, as a side note, I covered, I'll post a link to this video here. I know I'm referencing some videos because, guys, we cover this 6 days a week, what's happening. But one of the things that happened earlier this year was a big Netflix film, a foreign Netflix film, used AI to generate some of the CGI scenes that historically would have cost millions of dollars to create, but instead for this company, they were able to create some really good CGI effects in minutes at a fraction of the cost. The director said that he wouldn't even have been able to make the film even close to the budget without AI. So what does that mean? Well, when you go over to a studio like a Pixar, for example, you're not gonna need that kind of staff anymore. You're not gonna need all these animators. You're gonna need one guy in his mom's garage generating AI. You know what, maybe a little bit hyperbolic, but the reality is they are gonna cut movie creation budgets in huge ways. It also says to me that, if you're in film school, if you're in creative school, if you're in graphic design, you gotta pump the brakes because that world is changing so fast. And the new, it's not gonna be about, generating these high quality images in video in traditional programs like, let's say, Adobe or something like that. You're gonna be using, it's gonna be AI prompting. These movies are gonna be all AI prompting. And quite frankly, AI has gotten so good that you can sometimes not even tell the difference between AI and a real human. And it's only gonna get better. So you could very easily see these studios saying, okay, well, for that scene where Scarlett Johansson as Black Widow jumps out of the building and she's falling down and there's robots attacking her and stuff, maybe instead of spending $5 million on that scene, maybe we'll just spend $500 and we'll generate with AI. That is absolutely going to happen. It's going to create kind of an explosion of creativity, and I think it will provide a lot more opportunities for regular people to create content. Again, a little bit more on that in just a moment. But listen, here's where I think this gets really interesting. You may have seen, or may have not seen, that Netflix recently signed a deal with Warner Brothers, and it essentially gave them access to tons and tons of IP. It was a huge deal, tens of billions of dollars. I think it was $70 billion, I think was the amount. Anyway, or maybe 170. Anyway, huge deal, tens of billions of dollars. And that gave them access to IP, Game of Thrones, Batman, Superman, Harry Potter, Looney Tunes. Please believe that Netflix right now is going around and hunting for an AI deal of their own. They are absolutely going to be hunting for a deal of their own. Is that going to be with Google Gemini? Is it going to be with OpenAI? It's going to be big. My guess, if I had to guess, is that it will probably not be with OpenAI. It will almost assuredly be with Google Gemini. Gemini VO3 is probably dollar for dollar the best AI video generator right now. That'll probably change in a couple of weeks, but that would be my expectation. And they're going to do the same thing. It's just kind of like I laid out with Disney. They're going to start out with short form, a lot of user-generated content. They're going to be using AI to supplement their films, bring budgets down. They're either going to be things like For example, maybe you watch, let's say, the final season of Stranger Things, for example, and people are not going to be done. Like, okay, so season 5 of Stranger Things is done. They're not making them anymore. Well, that doesn't mean that you can't. And then users are going to start to generate new levels of the story. New lore will be created in this universe. It's going to get really wild. But I think what's cool about that is, let's take Game of Thrones, for example. One of the knocks on Game of Thrones was that the first few seasons were really good, just like unbelievably good. But as the series went on, George R.R. Martin I guess he got lazy and just kind of said, I'm just going to enjoy these millions of dollars that I've made, stopped writing the books. So what happened was the crew over at HBO had to write the finale and write the last few seasons. I thought it was pretty good, but regardless, it was not nearly as good as the writing of George R.R. Martin. Plot twists, all that, more predictable. Anyway, I digress. But what this will do is it's going to allow people like you and me to essentially vote with our eyeballs. We're going to be able to decide how we want the story to evolve, how we want our characters to evolve, and the cream of the crop is going to rise to the top, which I think is kind of interesting. You might say that, you don't know, we don't know as well as the creator does, and that's fine. But anyway, that's where things are going to go. You can mark it. Save this video, share this video out, so you can kind of stamp that you agree. Because guys, what's going to happen is we are about to enter the golden age of entertainment. Golden age of entertainment. You are going to have hundreds of millions of people creating tons and tons of content all over the web. And it's all going to be generated by AI. They're going to be on different platforms. The gatekeepers are going to completely change. You're not going to need to go to college or get a job at Disney, Pixar Studios or Marvel Studios to have an impact on creativity. You're going to be able to do it yourself. Your kids are going to be able to do it themselves. They're not going to need to go to film school to be a part of the entertainment ecosystem. You're just not going to have to do it, because how are you going to get a job? You're just going to create, you're going to learn on your own. You're going to watch YouTube videos. You're going to use AI to generate fantastic, interesting, entertaining content. You're going to post it. And if your video is good, if people like it, you're going to get hired. You're going to make money. That's how it's going to work. And I just think that's interesting. I think it brings on all sorts of new opportunities for people to generate new income. Now, that said, as we kind of learned during COVID eras, well, these new gatekeepers are going to be able to put their thumbs on the scale a bit. So if they don't think that you're DEI enough, or if you're woke enough, well, we're not going to promote your content. That's definitely going to happen. However, if enough people are like, we don't like this type of way or theme, it also opens up the opportunity for other studios that don't have as large of budgets to get involved. And I'll give you an example. One of the stocks that I really like right now is Angel Studios. It's like $5 a share, but they came out with movies like The Sound of Freedom, which was a huge box office hit. And they also are releasing a new film called David in December, or on Christmas, right? And I think what's interesting here is smaller film studios like that are going to be, if they have some good talent there, and they're able to leverage these AI tools, they're going to be able to compete against the big dogs. In the past, you would not be able to compete against a huge movie studio just because their budget was they just had way more budget. If you're a small studio, you're not going to be able to compete against a massive studio like a Disney and Pixar, Marvel, etc. And I think this is really interesting. I think it allows the cream of the crop to rise to the top. And just one more analogy there. You see how the gatekeepers and the way that news is handled completely transformed over the last few years. You are about to see that happen in the media and entertainment world. Just like you saw, like growing up, where did our parents get news? Where do they get the news? Like for maybe there's one, maybe two channels on cable television, and you get whatever they want you to see. Nowadays, everybody's watching whatever news they like. You go to YouTube, you can watch whatever news you like. There's thousands and thousands of news broadcasters, right? It's going to be the same thing with AI video. And listen, you may argue that that's worse, or you may argue that's better. My guess, my presumption, my prediction is that it's going to make content much more engaging, It's gonna be much more interesting. It's gonna be more customized. There's gonna be all sorts of storylines. It's gonna get really, really wild, guys. It's gonna get really crazy. And what happens when you have this kind of disruption? A lot of people are gonna get left behind and a lot of people are gonna find new opportunities. And that's what I want for you boys. I want you to find the opportunities. I want your kids to find the opportunities because there will be many, many, many of them. It doesn't matter where you're from, what the color of your skin is. It does not matter. What matters is, are you creative? Can you create engaging stories? And you will rise, you will have great opportunity in this new world. It's not gonna matter where you were born or how much money you have. It's, can you tell a good story? Are you creative? It's gonna get really cool. It's gonna be really interesting. Anyway, put your thoughts in the comments below. If you wanna keep up on all this stuff, definitely subscribe to AIupdate.ai. Go to AIupdate.ai. I've got a ton of tools, lots of resources. I wanna make sure you remain relevant, respected, and financially free as we move into this next era of AI. That's the world we live in, guys. And it's scary, it's exciting, all at the same time. But I want you to crush it. Anyway, thanks for being here. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. If you like today's video, you'll definitely like yesterday's video where we talk about a massive, massive $17.5 billion AI investment, Microsoft investment into India. India is about to blow up, guys. It's about to blow up. Watch yesterday's video so you stay up on that trend. All right, boys, see you later. Peace.